This video is kindly sponsored by PCBWay. Thank you, PCBWay. Welcome back. Today we're going to take a look at the RAD Expansion Unit. This is a €10 PCB with all the components included that allows you to, well, have a modern RAM expansion unit for the C64 with up to 16 megabytes of RAM. And you can also add an SD card, which is mandatory because it's based on a Raspberry Pi 3 or 02. And you can also use this to start PRG files and REU files. I wasn't familiar with REU files up to now, but we will get into details what this is and why that is important. So yeah, let's dig in. I paid 30 on eBay for a completely assembled unit, because I wouldn't go through the hassle here in Germany to get all the components. If you build these yourself, you can have these for €10 or $10 or less, including all the components. And all you need then is just some Raspberry Pi. And yeah, let's assemble this or plug this together, make an SD card and check out how to use this on a C64. Let's go! So I have my trusted painted C64 here. I made a video about this and I just love this machine because it is black and it has the C64 color scheme all over it. And I did this as an kind of an art project with my son. This RAD expansion unit just plugs into the expansion port back here, and it features a menu button and a reset button, and you can power it from the C64 if you have a good enough unit. I actually have one of these units here, which is a C128 power supply, which should output enough to power this unit. And I just have this round cable or round plug on here. But the PCB alone won't do much, so you have to use a Raspberry Pi and you have to prepare an SD card, FAT32 formatted that is. And if you have that, you just plug this on here like this and off you go. And I have a power cable here, which is just a standard, I think it's mini USB. And I have these magnetic plugs here, which just plug in here and it can take the cable off. It's very useful for smartphones and stuff like that. You don't have to fiddle with the port all the time. And I will power this over USB just like you would do. I have a USB hub over here and just plug it in and use it. So let me show you what happens if you just plug it in and use it. And then we go in the details how I got there. And it's not very complex. So the hardware part is done with this. Yeah, so I switched cameras because the camera I was using, which is this Depth-Tech camera here, 4K. It's working well for my face because I'm barely using forward and backwards, so the autofocus is not a problem. But if you're using this for your hands or with your hands here, it's trying to autofocus all the time, and the iPhone is much smoother in that regard. Yeah, so back to business, and let's plug it in. And you have to have these standoffs here so that you don't squish the cartridge. Very important, the buttons are the top side, of course. And then you should start, if you don't power it over your power supply from the C64, you should start the RAM expansion unit first. So I will plug this in now, and this will quickly boot. There's a little red light on the Raspberry Pi over there. Okay, so here we are inside the REU, and you have a few options which are blinking. If you press T, that lets you switch between the classic REU, which has the DMA, which is also very heavily used in Sonic and stuff like that. You have GRAM and you have none. So none is if you just want to use this to load PRG files or stuff like that. And The author is also the same, or the creator of this is the same, like with a sidekick for the C64. So this thing should get more functions in the future, and you can just update the SD card and off you go. And the second option is, if you press plus, you can just increase the memory of this REU, and you can see 16 megs is the maximum. If you go down, you get to the standard 128, 256, 512K, and the default value is 1 meg, and you can set this in the config file of this REU. I have no files loaded on here, so the cursor keys left and right let you switch between PRG files, REU files, and GRAM images. And I have nothing on here, so let's go in and put stuff on here, and let me show you how to prepare the SD card, because it's pretty simple actually. Yeah, let's do this now. So first thing you do is you go to this GitHub page, which is github.com/frntc/rad, and ignore the Clarity summary here. This is just a ChatGPT plugin that allows me to see what's discussed in a YouTube video or on a website. It gives me an instant summary of all the things I have here. That is a plugin for Chrome. You can use this or don't. And yeah, it says here the RAD Expansion Unit is a cartridge expansion for the C64, C128 using Raspberry Pi 3A, B+, or 02. The 02 has to be overclocked to do this, so if you have a 02 it works, but you have to overclock the processor. Currently it emulates a RAM expansion unit up to 16 megabytes, compatible with CBM 1700, 7050, 1764 REU, CLD Super 7050 clone, CMD 7050/7050 XL, and a Geo Neo RAM. Memory expansion up to 4 megabytes. It also features a menu to browse, manage, and launch REU and GRAM images. More on these in a minute. Newish and PRGs. So what is this stuff? I have never heard of REU or Newish or GRAM images before, and you will have a hard time finding anything about them on the internet. So if you want to have an REU image or GRAM image, these can be created using VIC, the C64 emulator on Mac and Windows. And you can, for example, load Sonic, which makes heavily use of REU and doesn't run without it. You can load it into memory completely. Then, I hope, didn't try that yet, you go and make an image, an REU image of the running environment. You put it on the SD card, put it in the RAD, and it should theoretically work. Newish are kind of movies for the C64. I have never heard of these before. Maybe I'm just not deep enough in all this, in the C64 scene to know this. If you know any good, let me know in the comments, and I will not try these today. They are actually available, so you can. There's an archive somewhere where are about 80 Newish files which you can download. I saw that. Yeah, so we will do that, and we will try PRGs, of course, because these are readily available, and in contrast to the D64 files, these don't load data later. So the PRG file is contained, so you load the PRG file and it's done. And if you have a D64 file, it might have more files, and it loads the first file, and the second, third, and the fourth. So we will try PRG files also. The RAD is designed to not only emulate existing extensions. Other things that have already been tested but not yet included here are, for example, MOS 6510 8500 emulation, including turbo mode, interesting, or using the RAD as a coprocessor. In fact, the menu runs on the ARM CPU only. RAD's functionality is entirely defined by software. The connecting circuitry is quite simple and does not include any programmable ICs, and is thus easily to build. It's a sibling of my other two projects, Sidekick 64 and SidKick. Here are some screenshots. There's the longer version available, which I think I have, and the shorter version. And the longer version is, if I'm not mistaken, for the Pi 3, and that is the one for the Pi 02. RAD has been tested with various PAL machines, C64s, 128, 128D, and NTSC's C64s. More tests with SX64, Ultimate 64, and C64 reloaded boards, RAM link, etc. remain to be carried out. Not by me, I don't own such machines or devices. Then it goes on to how to build these units, and there's actually a very nice HTML based component manager or BOM list, bill of materials, what you need. You can just click here and can see where it has to be sorted to, which is quite nice. And it's just a few parts. So as I said, it's sub $8 all in to get these parts, plus the PCB. So if you order 10 from PCBWay and sell them on eBay or something, you should get away with a $10 RAM expansion unit plus the Pi, which you may already have. There are 3D printed cases. I don't have one yet. I will print one. And it says here to power the RAD externally or use a FAT power supply. If you want to build one yourself, build one. If you want to buy one, buy one. They are available on eBay, I think. And from other sources, I will link some in the description below. And I think it says here somewhere, Restore Store.de in Germany and retroupdates.com. So try these. And if you want to make an SD card, you have to format it FAT32. So just insert the SD card. If it's not already FAT32, format it FAT32. And then you go on the right side here, you see releases, and you just go here, which is the latest release is the one on top. As of filming this, the latest version is 0.12. And you can just download this zip file here, and then you unpack it and you just copy all the content of this, copy all this here, this content, over to the zip card's root directory. So not the folder up here, but just the stuff inside the RAD firmware folder. Copy it over, take out the SD card, put it into the Raspberry Pi, start it up, and that is exactly what I did, and it works. So that is that. Now it should give us the option to actually load the full game and not just parts of it. And here, and that is very important, you have to say yes, please. And it will prompt us to swap disks, I guess, because I have the D64 version. Because whenever I try to download the most recent 1.2 version of Sonic, it says it has a virus in the D81 disk files. It won't let me download it. And we are done. Nice. So now let's see if we can actually do snapshot. Save snapshot image. So just for fun, I put the power jumper on the RAD and did not power it from the external power supply or USB. If you start it, then C64 springs to life, and then it resets, and then it goes into RAD mode. That's pretty cool. So now I have my RAD completely powered only from the C64, because I have this FAT 128 power supply. That seems to work just fine. Okay, so let's get some PRG files on that RAD unit, because I'm unable, maybe I'm too dumb, but I don't find any documentation on how to create these REU image files. So if you know how to do this, please, 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 and drop me a comment, and I will make a follow-up video on how to make or do these. Until then, we have a way to load the files from the 1541 Pi. Okay, it's back plugged in. let's see. 64 starts, 64 resets, and we have 2 files, Bruce Lee and Bomb Jack. Let's try Bruce Lee for, okay, does overlay the system. Ah, and there it is. Nice. One player component. This looks quite workable. And we will die now. Oh, we don't die. Interesting. Get punched and kicked in the face, but nothing. Okay, I did attach the Pi 1541 selected Sonic D81 image, restarted the machine, and we have the 1024K REU enabled. So let's go and load Sonic and let's see if it actually works. Okay, let's run. And it does work. So we use fast load and we want the game. And there we are. Awesome. And really fast because we are using the D81 image. This just sucked it all in. And we will go ahead and we will load all into memory. And that should actually work. Load full game. Yes, please. So I did attach a joystick now. Let's see. Not sure if these artifacts in the background are normal. Imagine those coming from the REU. Well, it works. So maybe let's go and try to just use. Okay. Oh, look at that. I think I just found a way to create these images. These REU images. Name and save is N. So I press N. Let's say Sonic. And I press return. And if I now go to REU, hey, there it is. Look at that. I found a way. Yay. Okay, so this is the way to go, I think. At least on this RAD or RAD. You load the game once and go press the menu button on the RAD and then you go and save the image. So let's reset this whole thing and let's try to load it again. No valid movie data found. So you have to press return twice on the REU image to activate it. But what about this movie? So we have this Sonic here. If I press enter twice, it seems to load it, but it tries to load a movie file or movie data. So I seem to have found a way to create these REU images, but not a way to start them. So this thing can't load its own files. Interesting. Okay, so if you have one of these RAD units and you know how to create these REU files and load and start these REU files, please let me know in the comments. I think this is it for this video, and I think for just 10 euros, if you have enough of these or create enough of these, or 30 euros if you buy one off of eBay already soldered, because these are surface mount components. Maybe you don't want to solder these yourself. I think for 30 euros, this is a good deal. You have all the functionality of an RAM expansion unit. These are about 300 bucks if you buy them, if you buy the original one. And yes, if you are a collector, you might still buy the original one because you're a collector. But for all the other people out there, like me, this is a very good alternative, and it's easy to set up and easy to use, and I like it. It's great. So I will put links in the description below where to get these, and as always, thanks for watching, and until next time, bye. Thanks again to PCBWay for sponsoring this video. If you need any PCBs, pre-assembled PCBs or 3D printing, please use the link in the description below.
Thank you for watching Retro is the New Black. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. If you like the video, please share. Every like, share, and comment helps a lot. Until next time, bye-bye.